One Piece, Golden Kamuy, Rune Soldier. What do all these shows have in common? They're treasure hunters. Either the entire plot of the show was hunting for a metaphorical, nebulous concept such as the One Piece, or a more traditional concept of treasure hunter, such as Golden Kamuy. Now, funnily enough, given how Youkou No Ken ends, it's actually both of these themes at once. So that must mean that they took the best of both stories I mentioned above and became the most immersive and engaging piece of media of all time, right? Surely won't just be a massive disappointment on every level and leave me with a hollow void in my chest. This has got to be the goofiest shit I have ever seen in my goddamn life. Metagaro, who's childhood friends with Sayo, gets kidnapped, and 10 years go by, and now we see that Sayo is being trained from the main villain whose name is Tinny. And Tinny, according to the feudal lords who are trying to hunt the treasure that Tinny has hidden, is supposed to be an immortal being, a mythical figure that you're not supposed to mention because he died 150 years ago. Similar how Sukuna is in JJK or even Geto's current form. Now, the entire plot is Tinny's ninjas have maps on the back of their back. There's 4 of them in particular, like 4 admirals for lack of better words. And the only way you can reveal those maps on the back of their back is to make them climax. Now, I don't know why he put it that way, why he wouldn't just get the treasure himself, why would he hide it and obscure it this much? What's the point of even doing this if you know the treasure's right in the first place? A lot of questions. Also, they're insinuating that he has to raise and groom these ninja women, who have to be women by the way, from the ground up. So he's going to kidnap them from like 10, 12, 14, 16 and just raise them all up to like their 20s. And then they're like his slaves, like better words. Not only is their whereabouts unknown, but you have to woo them on top of that. And what makes this sort of comically funny but more confusing is, like I said before, the trained assassins. So even if you do find them, they're probably going to kill you anyway because they know what you're here for. One of the councilmen of feudal lords meeting up to try to hunt down Tinny's treasure has an idea and presents Lord Akiyama, the main head of this meeting, with the concept of, well, this here.
私にできる仕事などあるわけないじゃないですか。
あるのだ。これは長年日陰者扱いをされてきた吉村家にとって千載一遇の好機。うまくいけば我が家にも嫁が来てくれるかもしれんぞ。
え？
またごろ、明朝一番に滝川領に旅立つのだ。
Yes, that's correct. He wants his unemployed, depressed, unskilled bum of a son hunt down these treasure maps and present them to Lord Akiyama so then they can bathe in the profits. And I'm not surprised that Metagoro is not necessarily enthused into potentially getting killed, like I mentioned before, for trying to copulate with multiple assassins. So the father has to motivate him and say, oh, you might be able to meet your childhood crush, you know, chick that's your basically adopted sister that got kidnapped in front of your eyes 10 years ago. And of course, Metagoro goes and the plot begins, because obviously if he doesn't go, then I'm not reviewing the show. Now if I'm not reviewing the show, then I can't make my $1 video. We get further exposition as to how exactly Sawyer got kidnapped, but we don't necessarily get the explanation as to why. I'm going to assume, like I mentioned earlier, that he just recruits them and raises them to be his slaves on his Andrew Tate grind, basically. Well, I'd argue that this would be better than Andrew Tate on this one specific instance at least, because he lets them leave the city. I'm just saying, I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying, you know what I'm saying? After being pointed into a general direction as to where to go by his father, he begins his journey. And right away, given his goofy quips and his Kenshin Himoura aura going on with him, the moment he meets with the first ninja who popped his squad to take a leak, this happened.
寝ちゃって喋りたくてもちゃんと喋れないでしょ。
腰抜けめ、もうよい。面倒だ。疑わしい奴は殺せばいい。死ね。
おお、見事なお乳。
And his catchphrase, or riz for lack of better words, is something to the fact that it's consensual, or at least as consensual as it can be if every encounter he's in is either lethal or close enough to lethal to the point where he's going to pass out and die anyway, or just become permanently paralyzed. So the jungle pisser, he makes a climax, like clockwork, whips out some magical napkin to absorb the tattoo etched into their skin and goes about his business. Now, they don't really explain how this is possible, but I'm going to assume it's supernatural because, like I mentioned before, one of the ladies can turn into a snake. Not only can she turn into a snake, but she can independently detach from a snake form and still have it be sentient, right? It's like if I made my arm a gun and then I wanted to transform my hand back, I can drop the gun on the ground. So I can basically spawn guns out of my hand with no other cellular destruction on me whatsoever. But at the same time, the gun is still a part of me. So if you were to smash that gun on the ground into 20 pieces, my hand would also be broken. But at the same time, because they're independent beings, it's sort of like a Wi-Fi 3D printer in this instance. So he knocks 3 women down, and he has 1 more to go. And before he finds the ever elusive treasure he's coveting for reasons that he doesn't even know anymore, because he's, again, been through 3, 4, several different towns, has been ambushed, has been chased through his dreams, had to piss himself to escape a dream before he's gonna get caught in sleep paralysis and die in his dreams. A lot of things have been going on for boy Matt here. And he attracts the attention of our big honcho, Teeny, who has a more intimidating name than that, but I'm gonna keep saying Teeny because that sounds, you know, fitting given how the whole show ends. And now, mind you, I want to bring this up because it's very important for my mini rant's gonna come up in like 3 seconds. Tinny not only died 150 years ago, but he's also been training for 100 years. So that means he either revived himself 50 years after his death and has been training ever since, or he didn't die 150 years ago and was reincarnated in some other instance whatsoever. So once he shows up and confronts Matt, and surprise, surprise, Soyo is right there. Yes, the woman he kidnapped 10 years ago and groomed solely to become his bodyguard is right beside him. Now, we have a confrontation here because Tinny just wants to kill him outright, but Tinny's tired of Matt just taking all of his hard work of etching the map onto his own ninjas' backs, and he just wants to take the map and kill Matt as well. So she's like, hey, can we please spare this guy? I know you're a villain, and I know you groomed me to become a ninja serial killer assassin for my entire life up until 10 years old. But please, I am snapping out of my consciousness right now because I don't want you to kill this man in front of me. And then this happens.
使命が地図の入手であるということはすでに分かっておる。どうやって我が弟子たちを倒したかもな。しかし男相手では得意の技も意味をなすまい。死ぬい。
So remember, he trained for 100 years, and the woman, like I mentioned before, who he only trained, I can only assume for 10 years. We're going the Orochimaru Sasuke training arc here, like training them as soon as you kidnap them. She had enough gumption to just kill him in one shot after Matt distracted him in the middle of the battle. How was he able to control all these women before? If he was this weak, why was he given such an intimidating lore and a sort of mythical air to him? If he can just be one tapped by a blade, I assume he saw the creation of, because where would she get the blade in the first place? None of this makes sense. He would know the exact material of the blade, so he'd be able to counter it perfectly. It blew my mind so much because the moment they killed him, he's just off screen. And now you got Matt and Soyo just bonding here, forgetting that this guy was grooming girls and women for the better part of like 100 years for no consequence, no reason whatsoever. He was just doing it for fun, I guess. I don't even know. He wasn't even feudal lord himself. He was just doing it for fun, honestly, because no one even knows he exists anymore, given at the beginning of the episode he's sort of a mythical being, a sort of non-existent entity, sort of first figure, right? It blew my mind. It really did. It was a bit funny, but it blew my mind. So after that, the plot twist of the next 2 seconds you watch this video, the final girl who had the final map was, surprise, surprise, Soyo herself, and then they go hunting down for the map. And when they finally get to the spot that all 4 of the pieces on their backs connect to, they find the treasure that has been ever so coveted by multiple lords in this medieval era. And this is what the treasure was.
じゃ、開けるよ。一体どうなってるんだ。
さ
なんだ。
あ、もしかすると戦で手柄を立てた者に贈られる生物の褒美では？
私はお前さえいてくれれば十分だって。
本当でございますか？あなただってそのうちきっと他の女子を。
そんなことはない。きっとない。多分ない。
That's right. Apparently it was women, virile, naked, that are just there to sexually please soldiers in the middle of battle so they don't go insane. I'm gonna be honest, it is kind of funny. I know you couldn't see it, but that's what the treasure was. And that's how Youkou No Ken ends. There's only like 2 episodes. It has waterworks, it has Dami Mommies, it has Neats doing a job. It's for everybody. Alright guys, I don't have an outro, but if I did, it wouldn't matter because no one makes fun of the video. Good night. And I am going to start working on the D Grayman video. I'm not going to be doing the entire series. I'll probably be doing up until the first Noah confrontation, like right before the time skip training arc for Alan Walker. Right before then, right before he like has to reassemble his entire innocence because, like I mentioned before, one of the Noahs, who I can't think of the top of my head, just shattered that shit in front of his eyes and basically left him for dead. That's a good part to end it because that's my favorite turn of the series right there. But yeah, see you guys next time.